Namaste, good evening, and a very, very happy evening to everyone. We are back once again to our chat with our solo cyclist, Mr. Sanjay Bahadur, and how many kilometers he's done, what all did he see on the way, what did he eat on the way, so many questions coming up. But before we start talking to Sanjay today, I have a surprise panelist with us, with actually a participant of solo cycling, I would say, in a way, but in a different part of the country. I was happily driving between Chandigarh and Kasauli on Saturday, and there I see this lone cyclist laboring on her cycle and going uphill. It's not easy at all, believe me. I could not resist the temptation and stopped on the way and said, "Can I talk to you?" Because I felt guilty. She was uphill and I was stopping her. But well, smiling as she is right now, she was smiling then too. So welcome on board today with us, Neeru Saini from Chandigarh. And Neeru was cycling from Chandigarh to Shimla that day, and she completed at 9:30 in the night. But I'm not going to say all those things. Neeru, welcome, and I'm going to ask you to share what were you doing there on the road that day, and what brought you to cycling.
Hi, everyone. Very, very good evening, and a special hi to Sanjay. I was very happy that day to listen that you are also a solo cyclist like me. Actually, cycling, I started when my children sort of they like left me for their better future, and I was all alone at my place. So started going into depression. Uh, at the age of 45 or something, I was not having much like what to do. I was a single mother. My husband died of blood cancer 18 years back. So I was very busy with my daughters. So just at the age of 45, I was left like what to do, and I went into severe depression. And to come out of it, my daughters helped me. They said, "Mom, you were a sports person when you were a kid. Why not you start?" Because I tried everything, kirtan, bhajan, and kitties, and that, but I was not of that stuff. So my daughter left her cycle. So I just used to do here tidbit like 10 kilometers or 8 kilometers or something, and I realized that, oh, this is like me thing. And now I have started growing my wings, and maybe I will enjoy or maybe not. But then started exploring, and I explored a few groups, then joined, and later I have become admin of a Chandigarh cycling club. They used to we conduct like group rides also in the city. But my favorite always used to be solo rides. Because of my school timings, I have to go very early. Office people, they are having time, abundance time till 8 to 9 they can go cycling, but I have to come back before 7. Like till 7, I have to finish everything, or maybe in summers I have to finish my workouts, everything till 6. So I get up at 3 and then do my meditation and go for cycling or running or yoga from 4 to 6 or 4:30 to 6:30, and then go for my school. And that was my daily routine. But Sundays used to be my favorite. I used to go for long rides, solo rides. Sometimes we are having very nice places around Kasoli and Morni, Moksha places. They are all uphills. Few off-roading trails are also here. And I love going there. And there is no problem at all going solo. It's like I used to feel that I'm rediscovering myself. Something was hidden inside me, and which was like baby like, or I don't know what kind of happiness I used to get. I used to sing songs while riding uphill, going down, enjoying, especially in woods. Oh, jungles and trees. Oh, I can talk to monkeys. All these stuff.
That sounds really, really exciting. So
I hope you people are not feeling that I'm a crazy person, but I really thoroughly enjoy myself. And
Fantastic.
That's how I started. I don't say I've rediscovered, but I'm trying.
Great. So we'll come back to you, Neeru. But before we again move to Shweti to introduce the whole panel and also ask Sanjay his experiences since we last left him alone, so to say. Vanshita, can we play the videos, please? Thank you, Vanshita. So, Shweti, the web stage is all yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And how wonderful these videos are. And it said paradise unexplored at some point, which is so true for the Northeast. Can't agree more, which is why Hazar Bar Dekho, Northeast Dekho, which is what we're doing today. And we're also cheering Mr. Sanjay Bahadur on. Congratulations, Sanjay. I don't know, the last leg is usually the toughest. So we'll ask you a whole host of questions soon. But I think we're so tantalizingly close to the finish line that I think those of us who are following, you've been following your journey, I feel the excitement. I don't know about the rest. So it's just, you're almost there. So I'll come back to you and do what many reporters do and say, aapko kaisa lag raha hai? But before that, let me do a quick round of introductions because we're just a few of us here today. And of course, we'll start with Mr. Bahadur, the man of the moment. Well, some know him as the Principal Commissioner of Income Tax in Guwahati, others as the author of 3 much-lauded books, including one that was longlisted for the inaugural Man Asian Literary Prize. And now many of us know him as the man on a mission a man who's been riding solo on a 1,000-kilometer odyssey along the banks of the Brahmaputra. We have been following his journey closely from Nagaon to Shivsagar, from Duliajan to Lakhimpur and Bishwanath Chairali, and now we are waiting with bated breath for him to come back to the finishing line. So congratulations, Sanjay. Along with Sanjay today, we also have Mr. Deepak Deva. Welcome, Mr. Deepak Deva. Mr. Deepak Deva, as many of you might already know, is the Managing Director of Travel Corporation of India Limited, our country's largest inbound travel company. Not only does he lead TCI, he also steers the ship at Sita, Distant Frontiers, and Go Vacations, all market leaders for inbound tourism in India from UK, Germany, France, Russia, Spain, Portugal, and Japan. He's also on he's on the Governing Council of Government of India, Government of India's Tourism and Hospitality Skill Council. He's a co-chair at FICCI. He's a member of several fantastic organizations across India. But I think today we are looking forward to having him as a part of this discussion, because nobody knows inbound tourism and the inbound traveler as well as he does. So we'd love to hear from him about what he thinks the potential of the Northeast is going forward, at least in terms of inbound tourism. We also have with us Ms. Hoinu Hazel, who's she's a journalist who has contributed to several national and international publications for a decade and a half. She's a great storyteller who also runs an online magazine now called Northeast Stories. But I think interestingly, Hoinu hit the headlines herself. Maybe some of you know of this when she wrote the Essential Northeast Cookbook, a Penguin Random House India imprint. Passionate about travel and sharing her passion for travel, Hoinu, whose roots run deep in Manipur, founded her travel portal called northeastodyssey.com in 2010. And she's now busy curating walks across the northeastern states with her partners at India City Walks. So welcome, Hoinu. Welcome to the panel today. We also have with us Lorish Boya. I am just going to quickly check if he's managed to join us. He has. Excellent, Lorish. Happy to see you. I haven't seen Lorish for more than 10 years, so it's fantastic, even if it's across the screen. Lorish, he's a French eco-entrepreneur with an MBA in international tourism and has lived in India since 2007. I was lucky to meet him back in 2012 when he had just set up his first independent project, a beautiful eco-river camp in Ladakh, after a 5-year stint with a Delhi-based inbound travel agency. Later, he dropped anchor at Varanasi and ran a houseboat cruise on the Ganga. And for several years now, Lorish has also been leading travelers on inspiring green journeys across the Northeast as the travel designer at Eastern Routes. It's a Meghalaya-based travel company that he co-founded with his wife, Kriya Rinja, who happens to be Khasi by descent. Whenever possible, Lorish also freelances as a guide for motorcycle and trekking groups across India. So welcome, Lorish. Welcome, Hoinu. Welcome, Mr. Deepak Deva. And we also have with us Ms. Sanjukta Datta, who will be introduced by Rupinder Brar, who I haven't introduced, but may I just say that she's more than just the ADG of at the Ministry of Tourism. She's the force behind the Dekho Apna Desh campaign, and she's also doing this entire fantastic thing that she's doing with Hazar Bar Dekho, Northeast Dekho. Over to you.
Thank you, Shweti. And so the last but not the least today, Sanjukta Datta, she is speaking to us today from Dibrugarh. And Sanjukta just did the webinar with us as part of Dekho Apna Desh webinar series and brought to us a lot about food. She is a food consultant and also food author. So she's going to be talking about what all has Sanjay been eating, not just in the last 9 days, but also while he's been posted in Assam and has been traveling to the Northeast. So I think, Shweti, should we start with Sanjay's, what has he been doing in the last few days?
Absolutely.
Sanjay?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I am having some problem. I can't get any visuals. So maybe there's some network issue.
We can see you. We can see you.
And
fine.
The connection is not very good. Right. I can't see anyone. except for the names. Hi, Sanjukta.
Should we go back to him? Sanjay, are you going to try and relog yourself?
I'll relog. Yeah, I'll relog.
Yeah. Shweti, we could talk to somebody else in the meantime, maybe.
Sure, absolutely. I think it's interesting today that we have with us Mr. Deepak Deva and Lorish, who are primarily, I think, your focus areas have been inbound tourism in India. So I would, maybe perhaps we could have a quick conversation about what you think, because I know that the borders have not been, they're just about opening up, and it'll be a while before we see more tourists coming in from abroad. But the Northeast is really the last frontier of tourism, especially for people, people who are coming in from abroad. And it would be interesting to ask both of you, actually, maybe we start with Mr. Deepak Deva, what you think, would be, what should we do to ensure that we have more people coming into the Northeast, and also exploring all the states, not just the few that are, that have been explored in the past, and how to do it sustainably, which is something I believe is a personal passion of yours, sustainability. So if you could talk about both, then I could, probably rope in Lorish into the discussion as well. Mr. Deva?
Thank you so much, Swati, and thank you for Rupinder. Thank you for inviting me this evening. It's a pleasure to be amongst all these so many exciting people who are doing so many exciting things, in this lockdown, especially Sanjay when he's back. So we will compliment him once he's back, because I was really excited, Rupinder, when you said join this webinar today, because it's celebrating Sanjay's achievements of 1,000 kilometers, but also he's truly an ambassador of tourism for us. These are the moments and experiences that you capture and show to the world, and that's the best way of promoting India. You can make $1 million film with some beautiful people walking down with the best cameramen, but you can't capture these real moments, and these real moments are the ones that matter the most. Sanjay is back. So Sanjay, we were just complimenting you for being doing what you're doing as a true ambassador of tourism for incredible India, and moments that will be captured of you doing your trip of 1,000 kilometers has far more weightage for us than any beautiful film that can be made. But I have to say, on a lighter note, it takes two senior income tax officers to bring an exciting tourism product together. So that says, so we give you, Sanjay, we also declared you as, an honorary additional director general tourism. So you're always welcome to Delhi whenever you plan to get posted next. Please do come to Delhi. So we love people like you. The question that I was asked was that with regard to the East, see, there are two ways of looking at it. So I think, you rightfully said, when will it open? These are all questions that we need to wait and see. There are too many moving parts. It's about vaccines, it's about the source markets, it's about all the things that go in to opening up a destination. But I think the more important part is that, do we believe that the Northeast is a destination that is ideally made for post-pandemic travel? And if you ask me, the answer is yes. And I have to make a confession, we are not specialist adventure or soft adventure people, but the world is going to move towards active holidays. And active holidays, probably Sanjay's is a very intense kind of trip, but an active holiday created in an environment like the Northeast. A combination of music, a combination of food, which Ms. Datta would speak about later, and a combination of great music, pristine environment, Arunachal, which is, probably the most beautiful part in the country. All this combined in together is a post-pandemic destination. So people would come out, fresh air, nature, active holidays. You'll attract younger people, you'll attract older people. Today the largest population that travels out of affluent Europe is for hikes and treks in Scandinavia and the Austrian Alps. 3-day, 4-day trips. Why would we not attract people to travel to the Northeast from neighboring areas, 3 to 4 hour flights, and do something interesting along the lines of active holiday? So I have great hope if we do this right. And you know what Sanjay is doing is a great launch pad for all of us to now start working towards the next step. So from our point of view, this is very good. Just to add to the sustainability piece, listen, the Northeast is what sustainability's definition is. So you don't need to go and change anything there. You just need to make sure that you sensitize people who are going to ruin the environment. But if you go out into the rural parts, you do see sustainability being practiced as a way of life. It's not a science that has to be taught, right? So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I'd love to hear what the others have to say about the trip. But you know, it's great to be here and to see to have Sanjay achieved what he has, and many more such experiences. I hope people get inspired to do. So back to you, Swati.
Absolutely, and you know that it's wonderful that you say change nothing because everything is already entirely sustainable. It's the travelers who go in who need to be sensitized, and it's those of us who are in the business of travel who'd be able to steer them in that direction, I think. So you know, that's absolutely true. Before I rope in Laurish again to be part of this conversation, let me invite Sanjay back because we are all waiting to hear about his experience first. But Sanjay, can you hear me? Are you have you been able to log in? Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you, Swati. Unfortunately, I was logged out again for a while, and I missed what Deepak was saying. But yeah, I heard enough to thank him for his enthusiasm and uh, connectivity is really bad here. It's back of beyond kind of place, and the bandwidth isn't good at all. So, right, I can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, and we are really interested in knowing what all have you been doing in the last few days, what have been the learnings, and how's been the experience as you pedal along the Brahmaputra.
So, in the last few days, from the south bank of Brahmaputra, we crossed over the Bogibeel Bridge. This was, I think, day before. Now I'm getting a little confused about the days and dates, but it was, I think, day before. And yeah, it was day before because I did 600 on that day. And that was a change of terrain. And to just imagine that even when I got posted to Northeast in 2017, that part of Assam and Arunachal was not connected except for a couple of bridges down the river towards Guwahati and Tezpur area. And both the new bridges, Bogibeel, and then further up the river, there is Bhupen Hazarika or Sadia Bridge. These were constructed after I came in 2017, end of 2018-19. So it was a great experience. I have actually crossed the river on ferry when I had come. And today to just cycle across the river, that was a great feeling. Another great, I would say, unexpected thing was that because I'm cycling, I need to stop at some place for something. They don't eat the kind of food that I'm eating on my ride. My food gets carried with me. So what I discovered was there are so many small, neat, clean places where you can get food, because if you're typically traveling from point A to point B in a car, and if it's a 5-hour journey, people very often they just do that journey at a stretch and they don't stop. But now I need to stop every 20 kilometers, 25 kilometers. And I was very pleasantly surprised that there are places to eat. There are places where families, tourists traveling, they can take a break at any place, any direction that they're going. And that's a new learning for me. Coming on the north side, we are traveling almost parallel to Arunachal border, and beyond that to parallel to Tibet. And the weather conditions here slightly better than the South Bank. It's cooler. It was raining little last evening when I was finishing my 100K last evening. For the last about an hour, it rained. And that change of weather is good for the cyclist because you're sweating less and therefore your stamina is better. So yeah, food and availability of pit stops for tourists who are doing long haul from Guwahati, if you're going to all the way straight to Arunachal, Parashuram Kund or something. Now I notice that there are places that you can halt, and also there are medical facilities. You have small towns on the way with basic basic hospitals, polyclinics, clinics. Because yesterday I had a kind of muscle pull near my at my waist, sacroiliac joint, and uh, we did manage to get some medication at a very small place, relatively small place. So these are all learnings that it's actually more tourist friendly than even I thought. And I thought Northeast is fantastic for tourists. There's very good infrastructure, and so that's the learning I had in the last few days.
Fantastic. And Sanjay, it's so wonderful to know that mostly your journey has been injury free. I think that's something that we were
Right.
all hoping for. So kudos to you, and also because your stamina, you're still smiling, you're still looking like you're raring to go. So that says a lot, and good to know that there are so many F&B stops. So I'll come to the food because I think that's a crucial. And today we have two panelists with us who understand the food of the Northeast very well. But there was one point that I wanted to draw Lorij in for, which was that because this morning, I was just trying to figure out how cycling, is cycling a popular with the travelers that that who come to Meghalaya, or what happens. So Lorij tells me there are not enough places where you can rent bicycles in certain parts of the Northeast. So that becomes a bit of a challenge. Lorij, can you tell us a little bit about the challenges that one might face if you're a so if not a solo cyclist, even if you're going in smaller groups for shorter trips, what are the challenges that you're likely to face? And have you found any solutions around them? Are there some places that are easier, therefore, because there is the cycles are available, like around Majuli, I think you mentioned. If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Hi, Thoti. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here in this panel. So yeah, we were discussing this morning about like trying to include more like experience and activities in our itineraries. When people are visiting in the Northeast, it's very important for them to slow down instead of spending the full day in the car and just visiting one place, take few snaps and head back in the car. Especially that in the Northeast, except in Assam and the Khasi Hills in Meghalaya, where the roads are quite good. In some places like Nagaland and some places in Arunachal, the roads can be quite bad and bumpy. So just to slow down and spend more time in one place is very important in the Northeast, especially if you want to, or you say that trying the food or even understand the culture better. It's important to spend at least 2-3 nights in the same place. Stay in a homestay also, better than staying in a hotel. And of course, yes, instead of being in a car all day, cycling is quite good way to get out of the on the main roads and get into the small lanes of the villages and meet the people. And also when you travel by cycle, the attitude of the people in front of you, of the locals, is much different. They are really intrigued by seeing people bicycle and happy that you're making an effort to go to their village. So there's some places which have come up like Kaziranga and Majuli. So in Kaziranga, it's very good because it allows people to stay longer instead of just doing 1-2 safaris and then continue their journey. They can spend more time in the Karbi village, which are behind Kaziranga, in the tea plantation as well, or on the banks of the Brahmaputra. And in Majuli also, which is second biggest river island in the world, which is full of beautiful fishing village, a tribal community. which descended from Tibet. If you want to go in the villages and spend time with them, and on school days you can ride on mustard field during the season of November, December. It's priceless. I mean, all my guests who have experienced it have really, they would have spent 2-3 more days just cycling over there. They really had a good time.
Fantastic. Lovely to know. And I think, Sanjay has also crossed the Kaziranga on his trip. So we were and those were, I mean, probably early on in his trip, he crossed the Kaziranga. So I think it's good to know that those are areas where cycling is possible and cycling is being done as well, as an active holiday option and experience. So thank you, Larish. The other important thing for a lot of cyclists and even travelers in general is F&B stops and food in general. And then, as we've discovered in the Northeast, there is a deep apprehension, even within domestic travelers, not just, especially, in the domestic travel community about the food of the Northeast. They feel it's, it could be unfamiliar. It could be, especially for vegetarians. And, so perhaps could I ask Hoinu Hauzel and Sanjukta Datta to weigh in and tell us perhaps what are the, can you just give us maybe one experience or two experiences that you think they ought to have, and for them to experience the food of the Northeast and lose some of the misconceptions that they already that they come to the Northeast with. Perhaps Hoinu, you could go first. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, hi. First of all, I just want to begin by congratulating Mr. Bahadur, that the fact that he has undertaken this cycle sends a very positive message, because one of the apprehension, I think, in the Northeast is always about safety. The fact that he cycled, I think it's remarkably wonderful, and it's sending a very positive and wonderful message that it is indeed a safe place. And a lot of people do think that Northeasterns eat only non-veg, but it is absolutely far from truth. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you are absolutely.
In fact, Northeast has a lot of variety of green vegetables, and some of them are specific to the region. So when you travel to Northeast, one of the best thing to really experience is to try the local food, and they're not always non-vegetarian. They're greens. They're specific to every place. For instance, if you go to Assam will have different food markets. You can even go and pick up and then get them cooked wherever you're staying. If you're staying in a homestay, you take the cook and you go shopping with them. And if you go to Shillong, for instance, there's a beautiful market called Bara Bazaar, where every farmer from the interiors come early at the crack of dawn with trucks in the truckload. They bring in all kinds of vegetables that they grow in the farm, and they just sold out within a few hours. So that's some of the few things, is really to go to local markets and just see the variety of greens that you probably don't even get to see them in the cities. So I think we should understand that Northeasterns, all of them aren't just hardcore meat eaters. In fact, I love the greens of Northeast. I can absolutely do without, just with perhaps my pork curry or things like that. So I think there's so much to look forward to in the Northeast. I mean, in terms of food, in terms of even the variety of rice. So we just have to go and see for ourselves that, there's so much there.
Sure, thank you. Sanjukta, what about you? What are the experiences that you would recommend that we have and that we seek out? You'll have to unmute yourself, Sanjukta. I think you're on mute.
Hi, am I audible now?
You are.
Okay. Hi. Absolutely amazing webinar, and I would like to start by congratulating Mr. Sanjay Bahadur for an incredible journey that he has embarked upon, and it sends a positive message, like Hoinu has already stated. And I think this is going to be an absolutely learning experience for people who wants to explore the northeastern part of the country. And I think it is going to be an amazing subject that they can just go back to. It's going to be probably one of their guidebooks that they can adhere to and refer. It's a kind of a reference book. Coming to the food part, I completely endorse what Hoinu has said. We are absolutely We love our herbs, we love our vegetables, and this part of the country, has an absolute array of vegetables and herbs that you can, explore. I think, yes, I can also go on and just, consume my vegetables and my greens throughout my life and not miss on my pork curry and my fish curry at all. Having said that, also, I would also like to, make a point here that, the seasonal vegetables of Assam and the cooking techniques combined together are absolutely healthy and medicinal. So when you're traveling to this part of the country and you're making a very intense journey, the food that you will be exposed to is completely light on your stomach, and it's absolutely healthy. So rest assured that you will be consuming some delicious and the array of vegetables and meat, and there is a superlative choice for you when it comes to food and pit stops, that the journey that you will be taking from Guwahati to Kaziranga, to Jorhat, to Majuli, and up to Sibsagar and Dibrugarh and back. So every district that you will be crossing, you will be actually exposed to some very different and varieties of meal on your plate. And that is the highest point of, the cuisine out here that we are so proud of. So I'm sure it's medicinal, number one, and it's so much to explore. So there would be an amazing food journey along with the adventures that awaits for everyone in Northeast.
Thank you. And on that note, I'm quickly going to ask Sanjay. Sanjay, what are you looking forward to eating once you are done and dusted? This is a crucial question. I realize that you're obviously, managing your diet at the moment, but what is your meal going to be at the end of this journey?
Well, I don't think it'll sound very exotic if I say that I had some roast chicken and pasta for lunch today. And here you go. So in a place like Biswanath Charali, which is, people won't even know the name of this place, but it's very famous because this is supposed to be something called Gupt Kashi. And there was, from mythology, Banasur had wanted to surprise Shiva, and therefore he created a temple in this place. And tomorrow morning, my ride is going to start where we'll be able to see the temple. In a place like this, which is totally off any tourist map, this is what I had for lunch. So one concern with a lot of people who are vegetarian, they have, and especially, people are a little wary of any place which is unknown, not only Northeast. If one goes to Kyrgyzstan, for example, or you go to Sudan, people are wary. They are accustomed to their comfort food. But I would like to send this message across to everyone who wants to visit Northeast that don't be worried. Of course, you can try out the exotic cuisine. You can try out all the very interesting stuff. And as Sanjukta was saying, the amount of greens that people eat in Northeast is probably far more than what a lot of other people do, because green leafy stuff is practically in everything. If it's fish, it has got greens. If it is chicken, pork, anything, it's always with greens. But for those who are not that experimental and they want to travel, but they all at least want the comfort for their stomach or palate, one thing is that this is communities from Rajasthan, Marwari communities from Jharkhand, who came during when the British set up tea plantations. In Meghalaya, you have a community of Sikhs, which the British had got about 100 years ago. So all over there are people who are, Manipur is essentially, the Meiteis are Vaishnavites. A lot of them are vegetarians. And the food is very similar to mainland. So you get dal, you get sabzi, you get saag. And for anyone, it's easy to adjust. Apart from that, those who are meat eating, for them, the variety is endless. You can have any kind of meat, some which you have had before, some which you have not had before. How experimental you want to go. there's no limit out here. You want to stay in your comfort zone, that's also available. It's a very friendly place, which caters to practically everyone. And that's something I would like people to understand and get that fear out, get that worry out. No, it's except for I don't think there is a single McDonald's in Northeast. Yeah, so if you want burgers, come to Northeast.
So Sanjay, Deepak wanted to ask you a couple of questions, but before that, I'm going to take a question in the question box. Joe Sebastian has a question for you. How many kilometers on an average did you cover in a day, and how many hours did you cycle in the night, or did you stall in the evenings? And what is the most difficult moment that you faced in your trip till now?
I normally do, I think the maximum I have done on a day is 117. Otherwise, I always keep it above 100. Minimum is 100. So I have done 7 centuries in 7 riding days. Tomorrow is the 8th riding day, and I'll do 8th century, and day after 9th riding day, I'll do 9th century. So, and I'm about close to 50 kilometers above. So at 700, I'm actually at 750. So that's the kind of, in 7 days, 750 is what I have done. But minimum I do is 100. Daytime, I am not an early riser. I think that would have definitely helped me. But as Neeru was saying, she wakes up at 3 in the morning, and that's just not me. I just can't. Very often I go to sleep at 3 in the morning. So for me, getting up and being out on the ride at 7:38 is as much as I can push. But night here falls, sunsets at around 5. So there are some days on which I finished my ride by 7. One day I finished, I think when I reached just before Kaziranga at Jorhat, I finished my ride at almost 8. So I have done night riding on some days, maybe 2 hours, but I like to avoid it because there is a lot of road building and development. 4-laning of highways is going on, and those stretches are really tough for cyclists, especially if you're riding a road or a gravel bike, because these are not meant for, they are not like mountain bikes, so they have no cushioning, no spring, it's just skeleton, and that's not very friendly to, on your derriere. So I avoid that. At night you can't see potholes, and suddenly you have a 6-inch deep thing. But yeah, on an average, 1 to 2 hours of post daylight, I do that.
Sanjay, and Deepak, I think you've been meaning to ask Sanjay a couple of questions. And Deepak, are you with your sundowner already?
To celebrate Sanjay's 100 kilometers. We'll wait for Sanjay to come to Delhi for that. So, Sanjay, from a tourism point of view, a lot has been done over the years to promote the Northeast. Unfortunately, we haven't had the kind of traction that we should have had. And whilst you were still logging on, and unfortunately you got logged off in between, I was saying that this is a destination that is actually made for post-pandemic travel. It's got it all, right? And active holidays is a big thing that's coming back. There's, food has been influenced by so much of migration over the years, as you just mentioned, and it's got, I guess, the influence of so many communities. What in your view would it be would you say is in 8 or 10 days, what would be the highlights that we would probably show to a quintessential European traveler by saying, we have 10 days for you in the Northeast, here is where we are going to take you, and these are the few experiences that we are going to make you share. So what in your view, Sanjay, is the best 10 days in the Northeast? If you had to bring it down to 10 days.
Okay, so I'm glad, because this is very, very common holiday. one Saturday to the subsequent Sunday. And in 3 years, I have done a bit of, job that a lot of travel agents do, because many friends, relatives, they have come and they have come here for. Currently, in fact, I have a college friend who's traveling through Manipur and Nagaland and reaching Guwahati in time to meet me when I reach Guwahati. So in 10 days, what I would suggest is, or recommend to anyone who wants a variety, I would definitely recommend Guwahati, because the river cruise in Guwahati on Brahmaputra, it's a very nice experience, especially the sunset cruise. So just for that, if not for anything else, and Kaziranga. If somebody doesn't have time at all, then because going to Kaziranga from Guwahati is going to take a couple of days minimum. If not, but somebody wants to see the Indian horned rhino, there's a place 40 kilometers away from Guwahati, which takes 1.5 hours, Pobitra Sanctuary. It's got the world's highest density of rhino population. And you can do it. So if somebody's there in Guwahati for a couple of days, can do both. Meghalaya, beautiful, very good roads. A lot of places to see, but the person can spend a couple of days, go check out Shillong for fantastic nightlife and live music and things like that. Great Khasi food, and also spend one day doing whether Cherrapunji or Doki. Then it's best to take a flight down to probably Manipur, and from Imphal, from the airport, Loktak Lake, which is an absolutely unique kind of lake which has got floating islands. You step onto islands and there are people living there, and it feels like you have stepped onto a boat. These islands float, and you can stop by for a meal. You can even stay there, like staying on a houseboat. Only thing, it's an island and it keeps floating. So that's a very exotic experience. And from there, now the roads are very good. So from Loktak, you can actually drive down to Kohima in about 5 to 6 hours, maybe less. I haven't been there for about on that road, but the road connectivity has really improved. And then from Kohima, one can come down to see a bit of Arunachal, the eastern part of Arunachal, which is Roing or Tezu Parashuram Kund. So if I would say 10 days, ideally a couple of places in Assam. Rhino is a must, because if you have time for Kaziranga, yes. If not, then just do Pobitra and see rhinos grazing like cows in the field. Then a couple of days in Meghalaya, and a flight to Imphal to Loktak, Kohima, and then whatever the choices. And then out of Dibrugarh, a person can fly out of Northeast and go to Calcutta, Delhi, or any place that they are exiting. So in 10 days, this is what I would recommend.
No, fantastic. That's it sounds really exciting and so doable. When you said Kohima, it brought back. Well, I was. My father was he was an army officer and he was posted in Kohima. And strangely enough, I have a picture of my mother and me in Kohima, which was taken probably many years ago. I won't say how many years ago, but yeah, he was posted in Kohima. So when he said Kohima, it just brought back some memories. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a beautiful camp called, I think, Zakama.
Yeah, that's right. Interesting.
That's close to the Hornbill venue.
Yeah. So, I think Hornbill is a big attraction. I think it's one of the festivals that really has got the imagination of people overseas. I think the rhino is definitely an attraction, and then you bring in the cultural piece. I think you can build a beautiful 10-12 day holiday. And now with all the connectivity, Sanjay, I think it's pretty easy to get about, not only within but also in and out of that part. And to just a follow-up question to that, I won't take up all your time, but I'm sure everybody will be interested in knowing from an one of the things that's becoming very strong is active holidays. So it's not as intense as what you are doing, but people would do a few kilometers of riding, cycling, then they would do some amount of trekking, maybe some on a boat, mix it up, like have 7-8 days of which 2-3 days of culture, 4-5 days of being active around. So is that something that in your time there you found some interesting active spots or active things to do, which are not only for people who are as fit as you, but also for somebody who's as unfit as me, let's say?
Well, you look fit enough to do the right things, Deepak. And,
Thank you.
and so coming to that, in Meghalaya, if you are traveling to Meghalaya and you're traveling from Shillong, for those who are interested, there is a zip line from Shillong to Cherrapunji. And of course, if you go to Arunachal in Tawang area and Sela Pass area, there is some bit of adventure sport during the winter. Beginning of winter when the snow is not that much. You can, just spend. There are sleds which are quite for tourists, and you can just slide down. Snowfield. In Upper Assam and Pasighat or eastern part of Arunachal, Rohing Pasighat area, there is a lot of fishing. It's people come from various parts of the world fishing there, fishing and even rapids. So rafting and fishing in Arunachal. I believe there are a couple of places where they have started paragliding, but I have not been to them. I hear in Zero Valley there is paragliding, but I haven't done that. Zero is, as many people will know, Zero is famous for its music festival. It's on international map of music festival. Some great music happens there. In of course, safaris all over, and in Manipur they do have. In Meghalaya, there's another thing. They have archery competition, and it's like gambling. So there's villagers assemble, they announce competition, and then you can bet on different archers. And it's a very different kind of. The bow is just about a foot or foot and a half. It's a very small bow, and the arrow is maybe again 10 inches or 12 inches. And they shoot sitting down on the ground. They have bamboo targets, and the distance that the arrow covers is less, maybe 15-20 feet. But it's a very famous gambling sport out. And those who want to do it, I had done it once. You are free to enter the competition and try it out. I missed everything and almost got the referee. So yeah.
So that's Sanjay telling us to gamble on this. Gamble on archery, Sanjay. No, Sanjay, thank you so much. And of course there's caving, and I know because you're giving me ideas, I'm thinking of all the things that I am too unfit to do, but certainly there's caving, and there's a wonderful I've seen these wonderful caving in Meghalaya, and these wonderful women who are polo players in Manipur, and annually when they have the polo festival these days in January, they have it. You see them during Lai Haropan, that beautiful dress, traditional attire, and riding through the streets of Imphal on a sturdy Manipuri polo horse. So there are innumerable options, and I know that Lorish, for instance, also does horse riding in Meghalaya and so on. So it depends on, I think, your appetite for adventure. But sadly, our appetite for conversation seems to be quite a bit, but we're running out of time today. May I please just go around the room one last time and ask everybody to maybe wish Sanjay forward, and also wish as we go forward to become
say something, Shweti. Yeah, Sanjay.
Oh, he is. Sanjay.
Yeah. So when you were talking of polo, Manipuris consider polo is a game they have gifted to the world. So if you go to Imphal, the polo ground out there, it has a big plaque which says birthplace of polo. And apart from lady polo players, what is even more exciting, there is a concept of Ima Kaithal. Ima is mother and Kaithal is market. So Ima Kaithal are huge mandis where only women are allowed to have shops. These mandis, men don't have shops. So they do all the trade, all the business, only women. And in Manipur, there were two armed rebellions against the British by at the turn of 20th century. So Manipur, yeah, polo riders, women, and of course, Mary from Manipur. So big place for women.
Yeah. So let's keep boxing. That's the message from Sanjay clearly. But I am going to go around the room and ask everybody to wish him luck and to also probably share a message for the Northeast as well. May I start with you, Deepak, because we've perhaps you can set the tone and then we'll go around the room.
No, short and sweet. I'm convinced I'm moving to Manipur. I'm moving again, opening an office in Manipur. That's my takeaway from today. But Sanjay, listen, beautiful stories. I think it's a wonderful to be together with you, and you inspire all of us. And I think this is great work for Incredible India. And I'm sure we'll all take this forward and make sure we come back to you. You're in big trouble because we're going to be bothering you for storytelling more often, and I'm sure together we can do much more for this beautiful part of the country. So thank you very much, and thank you, Rupinder, for inviting me today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Deepak Deva. And Neeru, from Cyclist to Cyclist, what message would you like to share?
First, I want to ask Mr. Sanjay, he's doing century rides every day. So how is the elevation for those rides?
I am not taking daily segments on Strava, but I think my elevation so far has been about 1,700-1,800 meters total. During the ride, it's I'm riding along the valley.
Okay,
so it's mostly flat.
Mostly it is plains.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Yeah, it's Brahmaputra Valley. So that's the valley, except for Kaziranga area. And to do back-to-back centuries on hilly terrain, I just don't have the stamina for that.
I know. Okay. And I'm going to follow your route. Like you have really shown me the way, and it is like going longer. I wish you very good luck to complete.
Thank you.
With a great show.
Thank you, Neeru. Thank you so much. Sanjukta, what about you? What would you like to wish Sanjay?
I would extend my congratulations and best wishes for the journey that is left ahead of you. I hope it's injury-free and you return to Guwahati, and I hope I bump into you in Guwahati and congratulate in person. It would be an absolute honor, and I hope you get to eat more of Assamese cuisine and Assamese food. We are more than our pork curry and our fish tenga. We are about vegetables, we are about our greens, and we are about healthy eating.
Thank you so much. And Sanjay, you know who to go to for your end of the ride meal now. So if you need her number,
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
I'll send it to you.
Honor. It would be an honor.
Homemade pitha.
Yes,
homemade
please.
pitha.
Absolutely.
Clearly. Okay, then I am coming to Guwahati tomorrow. This is just terrible. These conversations don't help. Yeah.
This is how parties
Let's all meet in Guwahati now over pithas and lalsa.
Yeah, absolutely. Larish, what about you? Would you like to share a message with Sanjay?
Yeah, I have a question. First, all the best for the last leg of your journey. I hope you'll manage to reach Guwahati safe and and try to avoid riding at night because these roads can be quite dreadful in the night. And I wanted to know if you had what would be your next challenge? Do you have an idea already of what you're planning next?
I was thinking of Everest.
Okay, bicycle.
Sorry.
Bicycle.
Yeah, well, I haven't really thought, but I'm sure somebody like you who is into horse riding and cycling, and you have seen so much of Northeast. That's an inspiration. My inspiration has come from meeting people like you and listening to people like you talk, because otherwise we live a very, very mundane life, as bureaucrats. There's nothing exciting we do. So somebody like you inspires, and that is what made me take up something like this. So thank you so much for your good wishes and for the inspiration you have given. I don't know how to ride a horse, by the way.
Okay.
You know who to go for a horse riding lesson and who to go and ask for your next meal. So there you have it. Hoinu, you're next. What
Yeah.
about you? What are you teaching Sanjay, and what are you wishing him as well?
Really, there are lots to learn from. So I'm going to walk away with few things that Mr. Bahadur has highlighted. He said that, after every 20 and 25 kilometers, he shared that there are points that are really important for us to know, that public amenities are wonderful. There are, medical facilities which even a cyclist can get. It's tourist friendly, and there's small stop places where one can stop and just take a little break. So these are few things that has been a concern for a lot of people, but to know from him that these are really in place. So I think it's wonderful, and I hope you keep cycling and keep spreading the beautiful and positive message. And Northeast, we don't really associate it as a place where one can cycle, but the fact that you've done it, it's something that can be introduced. I think biking, taking it slow and easy, I think it's the way to really discover Northeast. So thank you for showing us that it can be, enjoyed in that pace, in that very slow pace. And all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joy.
Okay, Ms. Brar, would you like to wish Sanjay as well?
Yes, absolutely. So, lage raho Munna bhai. It's fantastic. You've covered a lot already, and just a bit to go. But then, as Lodish already said, I'm sure Lodish, Sanjay is already thinking of something, and he's probably going to come up with something more challenging and interesting after this. But I want to use this platform to thank Sanjay and also thank all of you panelists for having joined in today, and Sanjay for spinning an event which has given us such a fantastic opportunity of showcasing the beautiful Northeast to the entire world. And how it's I'm getting very good feedback from a lot of people, and clearly this is the region which needs to be showcased, and clearly it's also an activity which is going to pick up. So your initiative will definitely add to tourism in the Northeast. I am certain about it. So a huge thanks from all of us in tourism for doing this and taking this up, and all the best to you for the next, 2.5-ish days that are left. And look forward to seeing you on Thursday, in fact. And between you and Shweti, who will have the last word today? I will give that to Shweti.
No, just Sanjay. Sanjay, last word is always yours. We'll be waiting for you at the other end of the finish line. But leave us with a message that of what you're thinking, of your prep for tomorrow and day after, and on all the memories that you're carrying with you going forward.
Well, today the whole team is getting together for an Antakshari and karaoke session, because today is the last break day. So all of them are assembled, and one of our team members, he is down with fever. He had a birthday yesterday, which we celebrated, and he said that "Maine kabhi socha nahi tha. I never dreamt that I would be celebrating my birthday on a highway where we cut the cake for him." He's got fever today, so we are going to just get together and spend some time and plan the route for tomorrow, because there's last moment change. So we are just going to replan the route and then crash out early and start the day again. It's yeah, get up, pack up, right.
So as a batchmate,
Come back.
I can share that the team in whichever Sanjay is going to be as part of Antakshari is the winning team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They don't know it. They'll learn today.
They'll learn today. Hidden talent.
So they, you know, in the, speaking of the Northeast, speaking of singing, speaking of all the pain that you're probably also feeling and not talking about, you know, in the Konyaks in Nagaland, in the Mon district, when they used to get their tattoos, there was a tradition of singing along while they were getting the tattoos. So, you know, so this seems quite in sync with that. Please sing from your heart, and we'll see you at the other end of the finish line. Thank you so much, Sanjay, and thank you everybody else.
Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
evening.
Thank
you.
Sanjay.
Thank
And have a great night. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.